Captain Min Jun Park stood in the center of the Great Council Chamber on Nexus Prime. Around him, thousands of alien delegates filled the massive curved seats that rose toward the crystal dome ceiling. Their strange voices created a buzz of different sounds: clicks, whistles, deep rumbles, and electronic beeps. But today, that buzz felt angry. Min Jun adjusted his blue diplomatic uniform and looked at his datapad. 5 years ago, humanity had been welcomed into the Galactic Council with celebration. Today, they were about to be thrown out. Admiral Kexa Veltar rose from her seat in the Althari section. She was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like metal. Her 4 arms moved as she spoke, and her voice was cold and clear. "Fellow council members," she began, "we gather today to discuss the human problem." Min Jun felt his heart sink. He had hoped this day would never come. "For 5 years," Admiral Veltar continued, "humans have interfered in our business. They stop our wars before we can finish them. They tell us how to treat our planets. They protect weak species that should learn to protect themselves." Murmurs of agreement came from many sections. Min Jun saw the tall Zentari delegates, nodding their large heads. The insect-like Keth clicked their approval. "Look at what they have done," the Admiral said, pointing at a large screen that appeared in the air. "They stopped the Zentari from mining rich planets because of some small animals. They made the Keth and Vorlians talk instead of fight for border systems. They even told us we cannot trade with primitive species." The screen showed images of human diplomats at work. Min Jun saw himself in some of the pictures, shaking hands with alien leaders, signing peace agreements, protecting small colonies. "Humans are too emotional," Admiral Veltar said. "They make decisions with their feelings, not their minds. They are unpredictable. They are dangerous." A Zentari delegate stood up. His blue skin had silver patterns that showed his high rank. "The humans lecture us about right and wrong," he said in his deep voice. "They think their way is the only way. They are like children who think they know better than adults." More voices joined in. The Keth complained about humans stopping their traditional hunting of weaker species. The Vorlians were angry about human rules for space travel. Even some smaller species spoke against humanity, though Min Jun noticed they looked scared. Finally, the council leader called for order. She was from an ancient species called the Thren, and her voice carried the weight of thousands of years. "Captain Park," she said, "you may speak for humanity." Min Jun stepped forward. He had practiced this speech many times, but now the words felt heavy in his mouth. "Council members," he began, "humans have always tried to help. When we see suffering, we want to stop it. When we see injustice, we want to fix it. This is who we are." He looked around the chamber. Some faces showed interest, but most looked angry or bored. "We have stopped wars that would have killed millions," Min Jun continued. "We have saved planets from destruction. We have protected species that had no voice in this council. If this makes us problems, then we are proud to be problems." Admiral Veltar laughed. It was a harsh, metallic sound. "You see?" she said to the other delegates. "Even now, they think they are better than us. They think they are our protectors. But who asked them to protect us?" "The weak species asked," Min Jun said firmly. "The ones with no armies. The ones with no votes in this council. The ones you ignore." This made many delegates angry. They stood up and shouted in their different languages. The council leader had to use her sonic staff to restore quiet. "We will vote," she announced. "All those who want humanity to remain in the council." Min Jun watched as the voting lights appeared above each section. Green meant yes, red meant no. He saw green lights in only a few small sections, the species that humans had helped. Everywhere else, red lights blazed like angry eyes. The final count appeared on the great screen, 847 against, 23 for. The motion fails, the council leader said. Humanity is expelled from the Galactic Council. You have 30 standard days to leave all settled worlds outside your home system. The chamber erupted in cheers from most sections. Min-Jun stood alone in the center, feeling the weight of failure. Admiral Veltar approached him as the other delegates began to leave. "Do not look so sad, human," she said. "This is better for everyone. Your species will learn to stay in your own space. The galaxy will be peaceful without your interference." Min-Jun looked up at her metallic face. "You think we are a problem now?" he said quietly. "You have no idea what problems actually look like." The Admiral's forearms crossed. "Is that a threat?" "No," Min-Jun replied. "It is a warning. Humanity has been doing more than just interfering. We have been watching. We have been protecting. When we leave, you will understand what you have lost." But Admiral Veltar was already walking away, her metal boots clicking on the chamber floor. Over the next 30 days, human colonies across the galaxy prepared to leave. Families packed belongings they had collected over generations. Scientists abandoned research stations they had built with their own hands. Diplomats closed embassies where they had made friends with alien children. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in her laboratory on the Rim station orbiting Kepler 442b. She looked at her life's work, thousands of hours of research into strange energy readings from deep space. Her instruments had detected something out there, something that did not belong in normal space. But now, she had to pack it all up and leave. 20 more minutes, Doctor," called the evacuation coordinator from the door. Elena touched her main computer screen one last time. The energy readings were getting stronger. Something was coming. Something that fed on the space between stars. She had tried to warn the Council. But they said it was human paranoia. "Maybe they are right," she whispered to herself as she sealed her research data. "Maybe I am just being paranoid." All. But deep in her heart, she knew they were wrong. The last human transport ship left Kepler 442b as the sun set behind the planet. On board, Elena watched through the window as the Rim station grew smaller. Soon, no humans would be watching the edge of the galaxy. In the council chamber on Nexus Prime, aliens celebrated their freedom from human interference. They did not know that in the empty space where Elena's station had been, something dark and hungry was beginning to stir. 6 months had passed since the last human ship left the outer territories. In the council chamber on Nexus Prime, the mood was different now. The huge room felt quieter, even when all the delegates were present. Council Prime, Theron of the Zentari, noticed it first. Without human delegates asking questions and making suggestions, meetings moved faster. But they also felt empty somehow. Disputes that humans used to help solve now stretched on for weeks. "The Kethan Vorlians are fighting again," announced Secretary Velnas during the morning briefing. "Border System 447 Alpha. Both sides claim mineral rights." Mineral rights. Theron rubbed his large blue forehead. "We tried, Council Prime. Both sides rejected our mediators. They say we do not understand their cultures. In the old days, Captain Park would have volunteered. Humans had a strange talent for getting different species to talk to each other. Now, there was only silence." Admiral Kexa Veltar sat in her command ship at the edge of Althari space. Around her, the bridge crew worked with perfect efficiency. Everything was orderly, just as she liked it. No more human chaos. No more unpredictable suggestions. "Report," she commanded. "Trade routes are stable, Admiral," her aide replied. "Piracy down by 15% since humans withdrew their patrol ships." "Good," Veltar said. But something felt wrong. The space lanes were too quiet. Even the pirates seemed less active, as if they were waiting for something. "Admiral, we are receiving strange signals from the Rim territories," her communications officer reported. "What kind of signals?" "Distress beacons, but they cut off before we can get coordinates. And Admiral, Some of these are from systems that reported no problems yesterday. Veltar frowned. Investigate the nearest source. Far from the Council worlds, on a research station orbiting a dead star, Dr. Elena Vasquez worked alone. Her new laboratory was smaller than her old one, but it had something the Council territories lacked: freedom to study what she wanted. The energy readings were clearer now. Without the background noise from millions of alien thoughts and machines, her instruments could focus on the strange signals from empty space. Computer, analyze pattern sequence 7 Alpha, she said. The screen filled with data that made her blood run cold. The energy signatures matched her theoretical models perfectly. Something was moving in the spaces between dimensions. Something that should not exist. Elena opened a communication channel to the Council emergency frequency. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez, formerly of Kepler Station. I am transmitting critical data about unidentified energy sources in the outer rim. She waited for a response. After 10 minutes, a bored-sounding Zentari voice replied, Dr. Vasquez, humans are no longer authorized to contact Council emergency channels. Please direct your concerns through proper diplomatic channels. This is not politics, Elena said urgently. There is something out there. Something dangerous. Thank you for your concern. The Council Science Division will review your data when time permits. The channel closed. Elena stared at her screens, watching as the energy readings grew stronger every hour. On the mining station at Kepler 442b, Foreman Dexka was having the best quarter of his career. Without human environmental restrictions, his Zentari crew could extract rare metals faster than ever before. Production up 30%, reported his assistant. The new deep drilling equipment is working perfectly. Dexka nodded with satisfaction. The humans had always worried about disturbing local space-time with deep drilling. Such nonsense. Space was space. Foreman called one of the drill operators. We are getting strange readings from Shaft 7. What kind of readings? Energy spikes, but not from our equipment. It is like something is responding to our drilling. Dexka walked to the monitor. The energy patterns were unlike anything in their databases. They pulsed in a rhythm that almost seemed alive. Probably just magnetic field fluctuations, he decided. Keep drilling. That night, as the station's crew slept, something began to seep through the cracks their drilling had made in space itself. Back on Nexus Prime, Admiral Veltar stood before the Council with a confidence she did not feel. Crime is down across all sectors, she reported. Trade disputes have decreased. The galaxy is more stable without human emotional interference. Council Prime Theron nodded, but he looked tired. What about the communication blackouts in the Rim territories? Minor technical problems, Veltar replied. We are investigating. But privately, she was worried. 3 more mining stations had gone silent in the past week. When her ships arrived to investigate, they found the stations intact but completely empty. No signs of violence. No bodies. The crews had simply vanished. Dr. Elena Vasquez was not the only human watching the Rim territories. Captain Min Jun Park had established a monitoring network using human refugee ships. What they saw made them all afraid. The disappearances follow a pattern, Min Jun told his senior staff aboard the transport ship New Seoul. They happen in systems where we used to maintain monitoring stations. Maybe the aliens are right, suggested Commander Lisa Torres. Maybe we are just being paranoid. Min Jun shook his head. Elena's data is solid. Something is using the empty space we left behind. On his personal communicator, Min Jun received a message from an old friend. Council Prime, the Ren, sent through secret channels. Captain Park, we need to talk, unofficially. Something is wrong in the outer systems. Min Jun stared at the message for a long time. Part of him wanted to help. But the larger part remembered the vote that had driven humanity from their homes. He deleted the message without responding. That same day, The mining station at Kepler 442b sent its final transmission. Foreman Dexka's voice was calm, almost peaceful. "This is Kepler Station. We have made contact with something beautiful. Perfect order. Perfect silence. We understand now. We are coming home." When Admiral Veltar's investigation team arrived 3 days later, they found the station running normally. All the equipment worked. The lights were on. Food was still fresh in the cafeteria, but there was no one there. The only clue was the security footage. It showed the entire crew walking calmly to the main cargo bay. There, impossible, dark portals had opened in the air. One by one, the workers stepped through these portals and disappeared. The last image showed Foreman Dexka pausing at the portal's edge. He turned to the camera and smiled with perfect, empty peace. Then he stepped through, and the portal closed. The investigation team filed their report, but Admiral Veltar classified it. She did not want to cause panic. In the depths of space, something ancient was waking up. It had slept for millions of years, waiting for the chaos to end. Now, with the unpredictable humans gone, it could finally feed on the ordered thoughts of logical alien minds. The galaxy had wanted peace and quiet. Soon, they would have all the silence they could ever desire. The pattern was clear now, though the Council refused to see it. In 2 weeks, 16 more stations had gone silent across the outer rim, all of them in sectors where humans used to maintain their monitoring posts. Council Prime Theren sat in his private office, staring at the classified reports Admiral Veltar had finally shared with him. Each report was the same. Intact stations. Missing crews. No signs of struggle. "Computer, show me the map of missing stations," he commanded. A holographic display appeared, showing the galaxy with red dots marking each disappearance. Theron's blood went cold. The red dots formed a perfect circle around the galactic core, moving inward like a closing fist. Dr. Elena Vasquez had spent 3 sleepless days analyzing the latest energy readings. Her small human research station now had data from a dozen sources, refugee ships scattered across space, all watching the areas they used to protect. "It is not random," she told Captain Park over their secure communication link. "The entities appear where we used to be. Our monitoring stations were not just watching for threats. They were preventing them." "How?" Minjun asked from his ship. "I think our emotional chaos interfered with their ability to enter normal space," Elena explained. "Humans feel fear, anger, love, hope, all at the same time. These creatures need order to manifest. Our feelings create psychic static that blocks them." On her screen, Elena showed him brain scan data from human refugees. Even in their sadness about leaving their homes, their minds buzzed with complicated emotions. It looked like electrical storms compared to the calm, logical patterns of alien minds. The aliens wanted us gone because we were unpredictable, Minjun realized. But that unpredictability was protecting them. Deep in the galactic core, something massive stirred. The Harbinger had slept since the last Chaos Bringers had died out millions of years ago. Now, with the galaxy finally quiet, it could wake its children. The first reality bleed appeared in the Zentari home system. Space itself seemed to crack, revealing impossible geometries underneath. Ships that flew too close found their crews walking calmly into airlocks without spacesuits, smiling as they died in the vacuum. Admiral Veltar received the emergency transmission while reviewing her fleet positions. "Admiral, this is Captain Korthek of the battleship Righteous Logic. We are observing massive space distortions around Zentari Prime. Recommend immediate evacuation of all civilian ships." Veltar pulled up the sensor data and felt her metal skin go cold. The space around the Zentari homeworld looked wrong, twisted. She could see the planet through her telescopes, but the light from it arrived at impossible angles. "Captain Korthek, maintain safe distance and observe. I am sending reinforcements." But even as she spoke, she watched her own crew members on the bridge. They moved with their usual Althari precision, but something was different. Their movements were too perfect, too synchronized, like they were being controlled. Lieutenant Rex Pa turned to face her, and Veltar saw that his eyes were completely black. "Admiral," he said in a voice that echoed strangely, "we have new orders." On the human refugee ships, the psychic static of human emotions suddenly spiked. Every human in the galaxy felt the same thing, at the same moment. A presence waking up. Vast and hungry, and completely alien. Captain Park grabbed his chair as the feeling hit him like a physical blow. Around the bridge of New Sol, his crew members stumbled and cried out. "What was that?" demanded Commander Torres, blood running from her nose. "Something big just woke up," Min Jun replied, wiping his own bloody nose. "And it knows we are here." Dr. Elena Vasquez watched her instruments go crazy as massive energy spikes appeared across the galaxy. But mixed with the alien signals, she detected something else. Faint human emotional patterns scattered across space, like islands in a dark sea. "Captain, I am reading human biosignatures in the affected zones," she reported. "The missing station crews, they are still alive." "Where?" "They are in the space between spaces. The entities are keeping them alive, using their ordered thoughts to anchor themselves in our reality." Elena's voice grew urgent. "Sir, we have to do something. If this thing fully manifests in our dimension, it will consume everything. Every logical thought, every ordered mind, every peaceful moment. It feeds on quiet." On Nexus Prime, chaos erupted in the council chambers. Half the delegates sat in perfect silence, their eyes black and empty. The other half screamed and ran for the exits. Council Prime Theren tried to maintain order, but his own thoughts felt sluggish. The thing in his mind whispered that resistance was pointless. Logic demanded surrender. Only one thought saved him. A memory of Captain Min Jun Park, arguing passionately about protecting a small colony. The human's emotional outburst had annoyed the Wren at the time, but now that chaotic memory created enough mental static to keep the entity at bay. Theren activated his emergency communicator with shaking hands. He sent a message to coordinates he was not supposed to have. The location of the human refugee fleet. "Captain Park, this is Council Prime the Wren. We were wrong. We need help. The galaxy is ending." But even as he sent the message, Theren felt the entity's influence growing stronger. His logical Zentari mind was losing the battle against perfect, silent order. Aboard New Sol, Min Jun stared at Theren's message. His first officer, Commander Torres, looked over his shoulder. "Sir, what do we do?" Min Jun thought about all the humans who had lost their homes. All the research abandoned, the friendships broken, the lives disrupted. "Sir?" Torres prompted. Min Jun looked at his crew, tired, homesick, angry humans who had done nothing wrong except care too much. Then he thought about billions of alien beings facing something worse than death. "Torres, signal the fleet. All ships. Emergency speed toward the galactic core." "Sir? We are going back," Min Jun announced to his bridge crew. "Not because they asked us to. Not because they deserve it. Because that is what humans do. We help people who need help, even when they hate us for it." Dr. Elena Vasquez felt a surge of hope as the human fleet changed course. On her sensors, the psychic storm of human emotions created bright spots in the growing darkness. Where humans traveled, the entity's influence weakened. But she also knew they might already be too late. The Harbinger was fully awake now, and reality itself was breaking down around the galactic core. Admiral Veltar stood alone on her bridge as her crew members filed past her with empty smiles. They were going to the transport bays, where dark portals waited to take them to a place of perfect silence. She tried to follow them. The logical part of her mind said it was the right thing to do. But buried deep in her thoughts was another memory. Captain Park's warning as he left the council chamber. You have no idea what problems actually look like. Now, she knew what he had meant. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes, problems were preferable to solutions. Half the galaxy had fallen silent. Admiral Kexa Veltar sat in the abandoned command center of Nexus Prime, one of the few beings still fighting the influence growing in her mind. Around her, empty chairs marked where council delegates had sat before walking calmly into the dark portals that now opened everywhere. Her communication console showed the scope of the disaster. The Zentari homeworlds, silent. The Keth battle fleets, drifting empty through space. The Vorlian colonies, responding to hails with only peaceful, identical messages about joining the perfect order. "Admiral," came a weak voice from behind her. Council Prime Thren crawled across the floor, his large blue face twisted with effort. "I can barely think clearly anymore. The thing in my head, it wants logic. Pure logic." Veltar helped him to a chair, though her own metal hands shook with the strain of resisting. "How are you still fighting it?" "Memories of humans," Theron gasped. "Their chaos hurts my brain, but it keeps the silence away." On the main screen, priority messages flashed from the few remaining free territories. All the reports said the same thing. The logical species fell first: Zentari, Althari, and Keth. The more emotional species lasted longer, but were still being consumed. "Where are the humans now?" Veltar asked. Theron checked his personal communicator with trembling hands. "They are 3 days away from the core systems." "But, Admiral..." He activated the galaxy map. Black zones marked the areas under entity control. Red zones showed where reality bleeds were spreading. Only small pockets of green remained, mostly around the chaotic outer territories where humans had established refugee colonies. Far from the galactic center, Captain Minjun Park stood on the bridge of New Seoul as his fleet approached the edge of the disaster zone. His sensors showed something impossible. Space itself was breaking down ahead of them. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission," reported Communications Officer Kim Soo-jin. "It is from Admiral Veltar." Minjun almost refused to answer. This woman had led the campaign to expel humanity. But he remembered Elena's words about aliens still being alive in the entity's control. On screen, Admiral Veltar's image appeared, but she looked nothing like the confident leader who had spoken against humans 6 months ago. Her metal skin was cracked, and her 4 arms shook uncontrollably. "Captain Park," she said, her voice breaking. "I was wrong. We were all wrong. We thought you were the danger, but you were protecting us." Minjun felt his crew watching him. Some looked angry. Others looked sad. All looked tired. "What do you want, Admiral?" he asked quietly. "Forgiveness," Veltar replied. "And help. The entities feed on logical thought patterns. Your human chaos disrupts them. You are our only hope. For climb." Behind Minjun, Dr. Elena Vasquez stepped forward. "Admiral, I need to know exactly what happened to the missing crews. Are they really still alive?" Yes," Veltar said. "We can detect their life signs in the spaces between dimensions. The entities use their ordered thoughts as anchors to manifest in our reality. But, Doctor, saving them would require humans to enter those spaces. The psychic pressure would be enormous." Elena nodded grimly. "I have a theory about that. Human emotional chaos might be able to disrupt the entity's control, but it would require genuine feelings. Fear, love, anger, hope, all at the same time. It cannot be faked." "You are asking us to save people who threw us out of our homes," said Commander Torres bitterly. Minjun understood her anger. They all felt it. But as he looked at Admiral Veltar's broken image, he saw something else. Fear. Desperation. The same emotions humans felt when they needed help. "Elena, how dangerous would this rescue operation be?" he asked. probably fatal for most of the rescue teams. The human mind was not designed to operate in spaces between dimensions. And Captain, even if we succeed, we cannot go back to the way things were. Too much has been broken. Min-jun turned to face his bridge crew. These people had followed him into exile. They had lost homes, friends, careers. Now he was asking them to risk their lives for the people who had taken those things away. "I want volunteers only," he announced. "Anyone who does not want to participate can stay with the refugee fleet. No judgment." To his surprise, every hand on the bridge went up. "Sir," said Lieutenant Commander Jong-ho Lee, "they were wrong about us, but that does not mean we should be wrong about them." In the space between dimensions, something noticed the approaching human emotions. The Harbinger had consumed millions of ordered minds, growing stronger with each logical thought it absorbed. But now it felt something that should not exist: chaos, approaching its perfect realm. The entity had encountered humans before, eons ago. They had been a minor irritation then, easily driven to extinction. But these new humans felt different. Their chaos had structure. Their emotions had purpose. For the first time in millions of years, the Harbinger felt something approaching uncertainty. Back on Nexus Prime, Council Prime Theren watched Admiral Veltar end her communication with the humans. Both of them knew they were probably watching their species' final hope. "Do you think they will really try to save us?" Theren asked. "I do not know," Veltar replied honestly. "If I were them, I would let us face the consequences of our choices. But they are humans," Theren said, and for the first time in months, he smiled. "They do not think the way we do." On her instruments, Dr. Elena Vasquez detected the first signs of the entity's concern. The psychic pressure around the galactic core was fluctuating. Tiny breaks in the perfect order. "Captain, the Harbinger is reacting to our approach. It remembers humans." "Good or bad?" Min-jun asked. "Bad for it. Good for us. Our ancestors fought this thing before and won. It knows. Human chaos can hurt it." Elena pulled up historical data she had been analyzing. "Sir, I found records of similar incidents throughout galactic history. Every few million years, these entities try to consume the galaxy. They always succeed until chaotic species evolve to fight them. And then, the chaotic species always disappear after they save everyone. War, plague, natural disasters, as if the galaxy itself rejects the very thing that saved it." Min-jun understood. Humanity was not just risking their lives to save the aliens. They were probably ensuring their own eventual extinction. The galaxy would never truly accept them. "Elena, if we do this, what kind of future can humans expect?" "Honestly, probably the same thing that happened to us before. We will save the galaxy, and then the galaxy will find new reasons to fear us." Min-jun looked around his bridge at his crew. Good people who deserved better than a future of exile and suspicion. Then he thought about all the alien children who would never grow up if the Harbinger succeeded. "Set course for the galactic core," he ordered. All ships. As the human fleet moved toward the heart of the disaster, Elena detected something unexpected on her sensors. In the refugee colonies behind them, human emotions were creating expanding bubbles of chaotic space. Reality was becoming stable again wherever humans gathered. "Captain, the colonies are safe as long as humans stay there. We could build our own civilization, far from the council worlds." "I know," Min-jun replied, "but that would mean abandoning billions of innocent beings to eternal silence." "They abandoned us first." Min-jun nodded. "Yes, they did. But we are not them. We are humans. And humans do not abandon people who need help, even when those people hate us." Dr. Elena Vasquez looked at her readouts, showing the expanding zone of entity control. Soon, the choice would be made for them. "Estimated time to engagement?" Min-jun asked. 18 hours until we reach the core zone. Then we have 18 hours to figure out how to save a galaxy that does not want to be saved by us." Behind them, The human refugee colonies continued to grow brighter on the sensors. Islands of chaos, in an increasingly ordered universe. Ahead of them, perfect silence, waited to consume everything. The galaxy was about to learn whether human stubbornness was stronger than cosmic hunger. The human fleet entered the disaster zone like a storm hitting calm water. Captain Minjun Park watched his sensors as reality twisted around them. Space itself looked wrong here. Stars appeared in impossible places, and his navigation systems could not make sense of the readings. "Sir, entity influence is affecting our crews," reported Dr. Elena Vasquez from the science station. "But the effect is different than with aliens. Humans are not becoming peaceful. We are becoming more human." Minjun looked around his bridge. She was right. His crew showed heightened emotions. Fear, determination, anger, love, all mixed together. Instead of the empty calm that had taken the aliens, humans were becoming more chaotic than ever. "It cannot control us," Elena explained. "Our emotional chaos is too complex. Instead, it is trying to overload us with feelings. Can we handle it? I think so. Humans are good at handling complicated emotions." On the main screen, Admiral Veltar's face appeared from Nexus Prime. The Admiral looked worse than before, but her eyes were still her own. "Captain Park, the entity is responding to your presence. Reality bleeds are closing in sectors where your ships have passed. Any sign of the missing crews?" "Yes. Our sensors are picking up life signs in the dimensional spaces near your location. They are still alive, but barely. Captain, whatever you are going to do, please hurry." Minjun cut the transmission and turned to his tactical officer. "Commander Torres, what do our weapons scans show?" "Traditional weapons are useless, sir. Energy blasts pass right through the entity manifestations. But Elena's chaos theory might work. If we can create enough emotional disruption in the right locations." Dr. Elena Vasquez had been working for hours on the solution. "Sir, I believe I can modify our ships to project human emotional patterns directly into the dimensional spaces where the crews are trapped. But it will require volunteers to enter those spaces physically." "How many volunteers?" "All of them. Every human in the fleet. The entity is too large for a small group to affect. And sir, most of us will not survive the psychic pressure." Minjun felt the weight of the decision. Save the galaxy by sacrificing humanity. It was exactly the kind of choice he had feared. "There might be another way," said Commander Torres quietly. "We could retreat to the refugee colonies. Build our own civilization. Let the galaxy deal with its own problems." For a moment, Minjun considered it. Humanity could survive in the outer territories. They could build something new, something better. They owed the aliens nothing. Then he remembered the children. Alien children who would never grow up. Parents who would never see their families again. Innocent beings trapped in eternal silence. "Elena, explain the plan to all ship captains. Let every human choose for themselves." Over the next hour, the choice was made. Ship after ship reported in. Transport crews who had lost their homes. Scientists who had abandoned their research. Diplomats who had failed to prevent the exile. All of them chose to fight. The plan was simple in theory, terrifying in practice. Human ships would enter the dimensional spaces, using modified engines that Elena had designed. There, they would project their chaotic emotions directly into the entity's perfect order. "Remember," Elena's voice came over all communication channels. "Do not try to control your feelings. Fear, anger, love, hope, let them all exist together. That is what makes us human, and that is what will save the galaxy." The first ships entered the dimensional space and immediately began reporting impossible sights. They flew through areas where physics did not work, where time moved backward, where thoughts became visible. "This is Captain Sarah Kim of the transport Busan Dream," came one report. I can see the missing alien crews. They are floating in some kind of energy web. They look peaceful, but their life signs are dropping. Begin emotional projection, Minjun ordered from his position in the dimensional space. What happened next was unlike anything in galactic history. Thousands of human minds, feeling everything at once, created a psychic storm that tore through the entity's perfect order. The humans were afraid, but they were also brave. They were angry at the injustice, but they also felt love for the people they were trying to save. The Harbinger, ancient and vast, felt its control slipping for the first time in eons. These new humans were not like the simple chaos bringers it remembered. They were complex, contradictory, impossible to understand. "Sir, the entity is fighting back," Elena reported as her ship shook from dimensional turbulence. "It is trying to increase our emotional chaos to dangerous levels." Around the fleet, humans began to suffer from the psychic pressure. Some screamed, others laughed hysterically. A few simply sat and cried. But none of them became the empty, peaceful beings that the entity preferred. In the heart of the dimensional space, Captain Minjun Park faced the Harbinger directly. The entity appeared as a vast darkness filled with perfectly ordered thoughts. Every logical conclusion, every reasonable decision, every calm and rational choice. "You are chaos," the Harbinger spoke directly into his mind. "You bring disorder to perfection. Why do you fight for those who rejected you?" Minjun felt the entity trying to understand his motivations, but human emotions were too complex for it to process. "Because they need help," Minjun replied. "Because it is the right thing to do. Because we are human, and humans do not abandon people." The Harbinger paused, trying to analyze this logic. But love mixed with duty, hope combined with determination, and fear, balanced by courage, created patterns it could not parse. While it was distracted, Elena's plan reached its climax. Thousands of human minds, all feeling intensely but differently, created a resonance effect that shattered the entity's control over the trapped alien minds. Across the dimensional space, alien crews began to wake up. Their ordered thoughts, suddenly chaotic with confusion and fear, became useless to the entity. The perfect silence began to crack. On Nexus Prime, Admiral Veltar felt her mind clear for the first time in weeks. Around the council chamber, other beings began to stir. The black portals flickered and started to close. But the victory came at a terrible price. In the dimensional space, human ships began to disintegrate under the psychic pressure. Crews reported system failures as the emotional chaos became too intense, even for human minds. "Elena, how many ships are we losing?" Minjun asked. 60% and climbing. "Sir, we cannot maintain this intensity much longer." Minjun made the hardest decision of his life. "All ships, prepare for final emotional surge. Give everything you have. Every feeling, every memory, every dream. Show this thing what it means to be human." Across the fleet, humans opened their hearts completely. They thought about their lost homes and felt grief. They thought about their friends and felt love. They thought about the future and felt hope. They thought about the aliens who had rejected them and felt forgiveness. The combined emotional storm was more than the Harbinger could bear. For the first time in its existence, it experienced something approaching human emotion. Confusion, fear, and something that might have been loneliness. With a psychic scream that echoed across dimensions, the ancient entity retreated into the deep spaces between realities. Its control over the galaxy shattered like glass. Reality snapped back to normal with a sound like thunder. Human ships found themselves floating in normal space near the galactic core. Around them, alien vessels drifted peacefully, their crews alive and free. But the cost was clear. Only 30% of the human fleet remained functional. The rest had been destroyed by the dimensional crossing or damaged beyond repair. On New Sol, Captain Min-jun Park received communications from across the galaxy. The alien species were free, their ordered thoughts chaotic with gratitude and confusion. Admiral Veltar's image appeared on the main screen. She looked older, wiser, and deeply ashamed. Captain Park, the Council wishes to formally apologize for our actions. We want to offer humanity full membership in the galactic community, with our deepest gratitude. Min-jun looked at his reduced fleet, at his exhausted crew, at the people who had sacrificed everything to save beings who had once rejected them. Thank you, Admiral. But humanity will not be rejoining the Council. Veltar looked shocked. But you saved us. You are heroes. Yes, we saved you, but we did not do it to earn your acceptance. We did it because it was right. Min-jun activated a fleet-wide transmission so all the alien ships could hear. From now on, humanity will operate independently. We will establish our own territories and our own rules. But we will also continue to watch and protect, because that is who we are. If you need our help, you can ask. If we judge your cause worthy, we will answer. But we will not serve those who judge us or fear us. We will not be your subjects or your saviors. We will simply be human. Dr. Elena Vasquez, working from her damaged science station, established the monitoring network that would become humanity's gift to the galaxy. Early warning systems that would detect any return of the entities. Protection offered freely, without asking for permission or acceptance. Months later, the galaxy began to understand the new reality. Humans had saved everyone, but they had not returned to beg for forgiveness or acceptance. They had established their own space, their own rules, their own way of life. When conflicts arose between alien species, they could request human mediation. When mysterious threats appeared, human ships would investigate. When disasters struck, human aid would arrive. But humanity would never again sit in the council chambers as supplicants or try to fit into alien definitions of order. Admiral Veltar, now serving as the council's ambassador to humanity, often visited the human territories. She had become an advocate for what she called the value of beautiful chaos. Captain Min-jun Park, now Admiral of the Human Protection Fleet, would sometimes accept her dinner invitations. They would talk about the old days, about mistakes made and lessons learned. Do you ever regret it? Veltar asked during one such dinner. Saving us. I mean, you could have let us face the consequences of our choices. Min-jun looked out the window of the space station at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, human ships patrolled the edge of known space, watching for threats the galaxy could not imagine. No, he said finally. We are human. Saving people who need help is what we do, even when those people are wrong about us, even when they fear us, even when they do not deserve it. That might be humanity's greatest strength, Veltar replied. And perhaps your greatest tragedy. Min-jun smiled. Maybe. But it is who we are. And the galaxy is a little safer because of it. Outside, the stars shone with the light of 1,000,000 different species, all protected by beings they had once tried to exile. The galaxy had learned that sometimes salvation comes from the very chaos you fear most. And in the deep spaces between realities, ancient things that fed on order and silence knew to stay away from areas where human laughter echoed among the stars.